Well, Luke, what have you got for me?
Let's talk about toughness. I feel like our generation is a little softer. There's no need for us to be super tough, but like I have so many stories of older family members that are just animals,
Right.
you know.
I've got a story about an uncle. Like, my whole family worked for a grocery delivery company, and
Mm-hmm.
so he was on the road one day in his truck. The dude hits a deer, and instead of just keeping his foot on the gas and just going to his next delivery, says, "Oh, I'm gonna take the deer." So he stops the truck, puts the deer in the back of his truck. He goes to the next stop, and he backs up to his place where he's delivering groceries, and you can hear the deer got up.
And was just fucking
Tommy
up
boy
the truck.
just breaking shit and ripping shit open. And he goes, "Well, can you process that deer for me?" And the deer was alive. The guy's like, "Yeah? Like, what do you want me to do? People bring him in dead." He's like, "Well, can you do something about it?" So the dude grabs an axe, open the door. When I get in there, you shut the door behind me and you lock it. So they do that.
Just
he
like
goes
a
in there and you can
backyard
just hear him,
brawl.
fuck, and just he kills this deer with an axe in the back of an 18-wheel grocery delivery pickup
Filled
truck.
with groceries.
Gets blood all over everything.
It's all ruined.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, yeah. I'm wearing my grandpa's suit that he got married in 75 years ago.
Was your grandpa a similar stature to you?
I guess I get my height from him, but he was a big dude. Like his hands were huge,
Right.
Like, and all fucked up because
Just
from
working hands.
Yeah, like his fingers would be like crooked and shit. He was using his planer and a piece of wood got pinched sideways in it and it almost cut off the bottom half of his thumb. He just kept planing the piece of wood. He's like, "Oh, it bit me." And then he goes inside, comes back out and has like 14 McDonald's napkins on his thumb and just duct tape around it. And he lived to be like 94.
Yep. Dude, that's old man shit right there. That's old man strength. Someone our age is like, "Well, I have to go to the hospital and make sure I'm up to date on my tetanus and make sure my taxes are paid."
Men from back then, like I have a great uncle. We're pretty sure he doesn't know how to read. We're pretty sure he doesn't have his driver's license, and he still drives. He's been driving since he was like 12. He drinks a case of beer a day.
A man of God.
One time he was walking in his yard, and there was a knife in his yard. Who the fuck knows why? He's barefoot. He stepped on it. It went straight through his fucking foot, all the way through. He just pulled it out and then kept going about his day. It was his birthday one day. His wife told him to come right home from work so they could have a dinner. He gets out of work and he went straight to the bar and he got shithoused with all of his friends. He comes home way late and his wife's like, "Where were you? It's your birthday." And he's like, "I don't want to hear it." And she's like, "I made you a cake." And he's like, "You did? Let me see it." And so she goes and gets the cake. She gives it to him and he goes, "Oh, thanks." And he punts it in his fucking kitchen. In the middle of his kitchen, he punts it. Birthday cake went everywhere.
Why? He didn't want it?
Because he was hammered. And then she's like, "You're cleaning this up. I'm not cleaning this shit up." He's like, "All right, I got it." He goes outside and gets the hose and just sprays it throughout his whole fucking kitchen. Just the ceiling, everything. One time we were up north and he shows up and he's got a fucking Ziploc bag and filled with gray meat. And he's fucking eating it. And we're like, "What do you got?" Crow. A bump the size of a golf ball just showed up on his head one day, and he had it for like 20 years. And it would change colors. It was like a mood ring. I went over to his house one day, and his entire leg was black. I'm like, what happened?
That might be diabetes.
And he just goes, "I fell." He reminded me of Moses when I was growing up. I was terrified of him.
Right.
He's calmed down a lot. He doesn't kick birthday cakes anymore. He's just a sweetheart now.
Right.
I fucking love him. Don't you have some stories of your grandpa being a cop in Chicago?
My dad had told me some stories. It was a different time. He was a different dude, I guess. You know, he wasn't real. He died when I was like 4, so I never really talked to him a whole lot. So everything I got from him, I listened to my dad talk about him. My dad told me a story one time where he was on the highway, and he had this thing when he was on the highway, he's going to go like 125 miles an hour and not any slower. Yeah. And he'd go in the left lane, and if people got in front of him, he'd get very upset. So some guy pulled in front of him and like wouldn't let him get around. And my dad was in the passenger seat with him. He smashed the gas, whipped around him, and rolled up his pant leg. And my dad knew he has a gun on his ankle holster at all times, basically. He pulls up next to the car, and this is like at 100 miles an hour. My dad's a young boy. He reaches down, and my dad's like, there's no way this is about to happen. So he just leans over, plugs his ears. My grandpa pulls his gun out, rolls the window down, and just shoots into the car 5 times or 6 times, just empties the gun right into his car. So they smash the brakes.
Yeah.
And he just gets over into the left lane, puts the gun back.
Never heard anything,
And
never gotten any trouble.
My dad was like, he didn't even say anything.
It was never talked about.
He said it was like he flicked a cigarette. It was just nothing.
But he never got in any trouble.
Nope. Never any trouble that I know of. Never anything.
That reminds me of my great-grandfather. He was born in Lithuania, came to America when he was like 12 or something like that. But everyone called him Willie Kadink. This dude died 3 times in his life. He was given his last rites 3 times. He was on a construction site. No hard hats or anything. It didn't matter. And a fucking crane was swinging an I-beam and hit him in the back of the head. And a priest was called, and he was given his last rites. And then he got back up. Years later, he was fucking hammered at a bar, and this bar had a balcony. So he's hanging out on top of this balcony and just fell off the balcony and landed directly on his head on concrete from a 2nd floor, given his last rites again. I wish I could have met him.